in charge of housing throughout here, through the city of Yonkers. And what that position would do, right? It would be created to be that person with liaison the mayor's office to the to all the developers that are attempting to come into this area. It will work with the IDA. It will work with all the other entities that are involved in bringing in new housing, residential home ownership. That person will be there to enable to provide information, policies and practices that will be given to me, so that I can send down to the city council to say, this is something we need to take a look at. I think what happens is that we are just tunnel vision in how we look at housing, how we address housing. And so we need to be forthright in ensuring that we're going to do our best job in ensuring that every citizen here in the city of Yonkers lives in decent quality and affordable housing. So those are the things that I want to do under Yonkers One Community to ensure that we are taking the right steps to be able to live in affordable spaces. There are units that you say, and I know because every year, you know, your rent goes up. We had a little breather during the COVID little period, 2 years, looked like a window that landlords and renters were not raising rents. But now that we're getting our economy back on track, that seems to be the state of play. And so we want to be able to have people that we will have rental courts. We will do all of those things that we need to do. Thank you, Cammie, that we need to do to ensure that people are living their best life here in the city of Yonkers.
Thank you so very much. That was poignant, and these questions we really want assistance with. So those two examples of how we should move forward are excellent, and we hope that whoever is the next mayor will take on those suggestions, and or you will be able to move forward with those ideas as well.
Absolutely. And for anyone who wants to contact me, please look me up at margaretformayor.com. You can find out about my platform, any information that you need. I am just a step away from your door if you want to have a conversation. So we'll be on the field all for the next couple of days, knocking on doors. So thank you so much for allowing me to share.
Thank you so much. And all of our candidates' information will be shared with each of you at the end of this forum. You'll be allowed to take a picture or screenshot it, and definitely go to our Facebook Live, and you'll be able to capture it there as well. Thank you again. We'd next like to introduce to all of you Ms. Corazon, who has served on the City Council as its majority leader, the first Latina majority leader in the history of Yonkers. She has previously chaired the City Council Legislation, Codes Committee, Real Estate Committee, Municipal Operations Committee. As a person that is in office, she will be able to answer some of these questions, stating what she has done already and where she would like to go forward if she was elected as the next mayor. Ms. Corazon, tell us a little bit more about yourself and the direction you would like to go.
Thank you so much. And good afternoon, good evening to everyone here on the call. It's great to see you. But for those that do not know, my name is Corazon. I served the council for the last night.
Ms. Corazon?
Yes.
You're coming in a little choppy. I'm not sure how you want to handle that other than going out and coming back in. Do you have a head mic?
Let's see. I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi and see.
Oh, there you go. That sounds very nice. Thank you.
Okay. Sometimes that's better. Let's see. How do I sound?
Much, much better. Thank you.
Okay. Is it still choppy or is it all the way clear? Okay, good. Okay. So for those that don't know me, I have served on the council for the last 9 years. And I believe that that gives me a very unique position as to why I'm the best candidate to be mayor of the city. Those 9 years have given me an insider look at the challenges the city faced, the problems that we've had to tackle. And at the same time is I've remained with my outsider perspective my independent spirit, and that those two things coupled together really make this unique recipe for the precise change that we need in this city. I'm a working mom of 3 young children, married to my husband Jonathan, and we live on Hawthorne Avenue. So I am a resident of the Ludlow Park neighborhood. I'm the daughter of Dominican immigrants, and I'm running for mayor because Yonkers needs change. You know, this city was founded in 1872, but in all that time, we've never had a woman or a person of color elected mayor. That means that our city and its amazing diversity that we have has never been fully represented at the decision-making table. And that needs to fundamentally change. So what are some of the things that I've done while in office? Early on in my tenure, I introduced the bringing body cameras into the city of Yonkers Police Department. And early on, it was resisted, it was challenged, and it was not approved. We had to wait until 2020, until George Floyd died in front of all of our eyes, for the city of Yonkers to react to police reform. I also, during that time, introduced different measures for police reform in the city, the creation of Civilian Complaint Review Board, which also has been resisted by the city and not approved. So I believe that different voices, different perspective can bring new legislation, new policy making into the city. You know, as a council member, I received a lot of complaints from renters about some of the challenges with their landlords, inadequate heat, infestation, not working elevators, the list goes on. So I knew we had to do something, which is why I created a building registry that allowed people to research the history of a property that they were living in or any other properties within the city. It took a long time to get that registry up and running. Why? Because the city could not see, not understand why it was so important to families. And really, they don't understand the importance and how there are few things that are more important than having a safe place to call home. And this registry would really empower residents to make decisions on where they might want to live and raise their families before making a commitment to a rental unit, while also allowing the city to really look at one concise place, the history of all these properties, all the properties are written. So it really serves as a public marker on which landlords are fulfilling their contractual obligation to their tenants and which one aren't. That's time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Cortizone. You spoke a little bit about the police cameras and body cameras. I was wondering, there's been a lot of buzz, especially online, about mandating a certain percentage of the police to live where they work. If our county legislators and our mayors must live in a certain district where they work, our firemen must live in the district and where they work. What do you think about having our police officers and a percentage thereof live where they work?
I 100% fully support that, because there's a different emotion that we have to our neighborhood when we live. A different emotion that we take, a different approach of how we treat people when they are truly our neighbors. And that's what we need in our Yonkers Police Department. We need people that understand the true experiences of Yonkers, not someone who lives in the city for a certain amount of time, acquires this good quality city job, and then takes their money and moves to Rockland County or moves to Greenburgh or wherever. We need people who are really vested in the city of Yonkers, and that happens by the people that live here. So I support that measure, and I support ways and to get more people who are born and raised in Yonkers, who are from our communities, who attend our schools, into our police departments. So one of the things that I've supported is giving additional civil service points to graduates of our Yonkers public schools. Why? You know, one, that the majority of our students are students of color. So we're providing opportunities for students of color. We know that our students, their residency is in Yonkers, and many of them, their residency are long-term in the city. So when we give opportunities to those that are in our communities, what we're gonna reciprocally receive is just a win-win recipe for our community. So I fully support that. And I wanna go make sure that we go above and beyond creative ways to diversify our department, which only has 54 African American officers, and figure out how do we, on a not just on a one-time basis, the city just actively It's not ongoing yearly. Are they promoting, actually advocating for the diversifying of our police department? So we need to be a campaign that is year round as to how we get more community members, people of our city, to serve on our police departments, fire departments, the rest of our city.
Thank you. Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you.
Do we have a question from our Q&A team as well? Another question?
Yes, what measures would you take to make housing even more affordable? Um, Increasing the percentage of the amount of units that can be available, and also especially for our lower middle class citizens.
Thank you. So I voted on an ordinance that would have required developers to set aside 20% of units as affordable. As many know, that ordinance was vetoed by the current mayor, because there's this notion that if we require 20%, developers will not build in this city. That idea is false. It's a false narrative, and they're gaslighting us. And the reality is that they're going to continue to build, and we as a city should demand developers do their fair share in this city so that residents can have opportunity to live in these units. So in addition to voting on the 20% ordinance, I also introduced, and it hasn't yet been created, but the creation of an affordable housing registry. Because oftentimes there are things that we put in place, like the affordable housing ordinance, and people do not know how to navigate it. They don't know how to find these units. They don't know where these units are. So as a city, if we're passing laws, let's make it accessible for people so they know exactly where to find these units, exactly how to access them. And furthermore, in my budget hearings, I spoke about the creation of an affordable housing department that specializes in just affordable housing issues. Because right now, those issues go to the planning department. And it is my opinion that we need a dedicated department to really hone in on the issues, to look at the market and figure out strategically. The honest answer is, I don't know. I personally do not know how we can tackle on the increasing rents. But should we have a real economic strategist that can look at the market, look at our economic policy, and find real ways how to implement a plan? That is the way that I believe we can create solutions, but that is not there in this moment. So I think what we've lacked in this city is creative ways of thinking, right? And the reason is because oftentimes through lived experiences, you come up with solutions about how to solve certain issues.
Thank you. Yeah, those are exactly the right ways that we would like our next mayor to go. And definitely looking at the words of our great FLOTUS, as far as percentages with affordable housing, when they go low, we should go high. So rather than ask for 20, 25%, demanding 50%, that's equitable. But that's something for our next mayor to consider, and that's something for them to put a panel together for. Do we have one last question for Ms. Cortisone as we like to move along so that we can have more questions for all of our panelists later?
Absolutely. What strategies would you implement to further reduce the crime rate here in the city of Yonkers?
So I represent District 2, which is one of the districts that struggles with one of the districts with the most with crime in our community. Northern Hill specifically has a very high crime rate with respect to the rest of the city. Early on, I knew that the way attempt to tackle that was to bring holistic approach into that neighborhood. So what did I do? Early on in my tenure, I invested $1 million for the creation of Day Spring Community Center, a community center that includes a full state-of-the-art basketball courts, computer center, resume building, a day laborer program, childcare services, and the list goes on. And we repurposed a church to really create this investment in the neighborhood that not a lot of investment happens. So what was West Hab able to do with that? They were able to use that seed investment from the city and then create Day Spring Commons, which is a 100% affordable unit building for the former homeless families within the Yonkers community. We need to do more of that. We need to create holistic approaches to how we combat crime. That means that the seniors in this city that only serve as senior centers and not after school program. We need to
Yes.
figure out how do we expand facilities that we have ownership of and make them more accessible to people. We invest in mental health services, or make sure that the organizations and nonprofits that are doing mental health work, professionals, get more funding from the city to do more work. But that's the best way to tackle crime, and that's the best way to create solutions for our community.
Well, thank you so much for that. We appreciate you giving us your time here today as you're running for mayor. Thank you both, Ms. Coleman, and thank you, Ms. Cortizone. Good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we'd like to move to the City Council, First District, and we'd like to start off with Ms. Parker. Ms. Parker has been fighting for fair housing, and she desires expanding the employment process for all, definitely investing in our youth. Ms. Parker vows to fight to make sure that the parks and roads in District 1 are fixed and maintained. She believes that our kids and our pets and our seniors, they deserve safe areas to relax and to play in. The First District deserves well-paved roads, accessible sidewalks, proper garbage cans to ease sanitation removal, and more. She would like everyone to enjoy parks in District 1, where we can equally improve the quality of life for all. Ms. Parker, I know there's so much more you'd like to tell us about yourself and why you are running for City Council First District.
Hi, I am trying to start my video, but it says that somebody has stopped it for me, so I'm not sure.
That's all right. Please continue, and I'll have my
Sure.
tech team right on that. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
No problem. So good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here to listen, to talk with you. Oh, there it goes. Start my video. There we go. Hi, everybody. To listen and to talk with you about, all of the issues here tonight. I know many of you on this Zoom have heard my spiel, born and raised here. I have a degree in political science, and I worked in government, local government specifically, for the last 6 years. So tonight I'd like to do something a little bit different and dive deeper into the 3 pillars that I mentioned: lived, educated, and worked, that add to the unique lens that I can provide on the Yonkers City Council. I think it's really important to be able to differentiate each candidate from one another. And one thing we all have in common is that we're all beautiful Black women. But there are things that make us very unique and very different. And I like to emphasize some of those things for myself. When I say born and raised here, I'm not just saying go to sleep and wake up here, for the entirety of my life. I'm saying being born and raised here from birth. And that means something, not just to me, but to so many people in and around the First District who live, and families have lived and died here and have felt like they haven't had a real true voice on the City Council in a very long time. There's a different perspective that's provided when you've lived through some of the good times in Yonkers and some of the worst times in Yonkers, as it relates to public safety, to education, to housing. And that voice needs to be uplifted in the behind the closed doors conversations that occur, on the City Council. So when I'm saying lived here, I mean fully entrenched in everything here, right? Not just being here or having come here, even though we love everybody who's come to Yonkers for all the great reasons that it has to offer, but living in the day-to-day, not just being on organizations or sitting on boards or becoming a member of something, but just really in the day-to-day, right? Shopping at the ShopRite, going down to Trevor Park, riding down the bumpy roads of North Broadway that really need to be changed, right? It's about really living in this district, and that is something that I can, provide. That is a perspective that I can provide. As it relates to schools, I didn't have parents who were fortunate enough, to sacrifice their employment to stay home with me. I needed my guidance counselors. I needed my principals. Right now, our education system is in shambles. Yes, we have a 90% graduation rate, but that is a testament to our kids and not a testament to what we provided to them. And so I really my daughter's 3, going to be entering Yonkers Public Schools very soon. And I want to be able to provide that perspective on the City Council, which has not been provided in the last 6 years. When it comes to my education, I have a political science degree, but not just that. I spent 6 months on Capitol Hill helping, form pieces of legislation. I've worked in the New York State Senate, helping to to draft legislation around hydrofracking. I currently work at the at the Westchester County Board of Legislators as a committee coordinator. And in that role, I am able to see a firsthand look at drafting of legislation. And so it's not just the lived experience with the education, but it's actually crafting legislation that doesn't just look good on paper, but makes sense for people in reality. Continuing on the path of my work experience, I worked for 32BJ at SEIU, and that led me to a career directly in politics, working for Legislator Christopher Johnson. And if you know or know people who work in legislative offices, we are the backbones of that office. And there's been hundreds of constituent concerns that I've been able to handle. When our current council person let the sharing community close, it was our office who was out there handing out flyers, making sure that people had showers, and was able to, provide them the location for where their next night's sleep would be. And so it's all of those things combined, and really deciding that a person with lived experience, a person with education experience, a person with governmental experience, not just working in the office, but actually being up close and personal to legislation, is really, really important, and a role that is missing currently from the Yonkers City Council. Thanks so much, Cammie.
Thank you so much. Yeah, your networking has been proven inside the candidate's office. So we do so appreciate that. Do we have any questions for Ms. Parker?
Ms. Parker, what new ways would you implement so that all the residents of Yonkers will be involved in the decision-making process?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Lisa? It was breaking up a little bit.
Yes. What new ways would you implement so that all residents of the city of Yonkers will be involved in this decision-making process?
Oh, okay. Yes. So, I read something a while back from our current council member's office that basically said that there were only one of two ways you can get in contact with that office. That was, you either got in contact that way or you didn't get your concern handled. I think we're living in a new day and age and a new time where we need to open up the possibilities for people to get in contact with us and have an open office of transparency. I think at some of these zoning board meetings, when I, have attended to them, I've seen no city council members there or their staff. I think there needs to be more of a correlation between the boards and the decisions that these boards are making in our office, where a lot of people from the community attend these board meetings. That's a direct connect and direct connection that can take place to be able to open up the doors of transparency between the office and the community. So I would just say expansion, allowing people to, with a process, one that makes sense, but allowing people to reach out to and connect with the office in a variety of ways, ranging from, a controlled social media environment all the way up, to the very, I would say, dated way of like writing letters and stuff. I think we just need to open it up and get more creative, because that's just what the times are calling for. And people should not be shut out of the process simply because they don't have information on what I would consider, honestly, Yonkers website, a very, robotic and dated website.
Thank you so much for that. And that's one of the reasons that this caucus takes pride in having these candidates forums. We do not want our constituents, we do not want our community, we don't want our families to be shut out. So I think you're right. We need to make it make sense, like we say here in Yonkers. Is there one more question for Ms. Parker?
Yes, Ms. Parker. What are your plans to improve the infrastructure here in the city of Yonkers?
My plans to improve the infrastructure. So I would say that we need to put, and this is something that has come up in the recent conversations about the overdevelopment in the area, and some of the community coalitions have, mentioned it. We need to take a step back and really do an assessment of the city and the city's infrastructure and what we have in place to accommodate all of these hundreds and thousands of new, buildings that are coming. And I think that can be done by providing some funds, toward a study or hiring, an outside agency to really assess what our infrastructure is at the moment, how we can improve it, and work with the experts, right? Like, the reality is that many of us on the city council will not be experts in every single area, but that is why, we have been tasked with using our brains and reaching out to other smart people to really, assess the problem. But the only way that you can do that is if you identify a problem to begin with. There are people, our current representation, I would say, has not proposed going as far as taking a step back in allowing the city to need to assess our infrastructure, right? We've seen these buildings for the last however many years just go up. They go before the zoning board, they go before the planning board, and they sometimes go before the city council, and they are essentially passed through. Nobody is really taking the time to say, hey, wait a minute, do we have the infrastructure to support all of these developments? And so we need somebody on the council who's going to raise that question, right? Who's going to say, hold up, wait 1 minute, let's take a step back. Do we have what we need to support all of this? And I think that can be done by, turning to the experts and asking them what we should do in order to make sure that our city is safe and, can accommodate all of the new things that is coming here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Parker. And that is a
Yes.
sign of a great leader, is to find those who do a job best and leading towards them. Thank you so much for your time. And please stay on, as there may be more questions for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to go to Miss Effie. Miss Effie has worked for over 20 years in social services, providing housing for mentally disturbed adults. She's a life counselor to underserved parents and children living with autism. She has also worked in domestic violence shelters and other job readiness programs. We'd like you to tell us a little bit more about yourself and share why you would be the next best candidate. Is Miss Effie on? I know she was. I think she might have gotten bumped off or dropped. So we will take leave and we'll be happy to come back to her as time allows. And she was on, so please forgive her at this moment. Can we move on to Miss Deanna Robinson? Miss Deanna? We know you are a lifelong Democrat, a community advocate. We know you bring years of public service in District 1 on the Yonkers City Council. We know you have 6 years of experience working as an aide to Councilwoman Shanae Williams. In addition, Ms. Robinson created an organization with the key purpose of promoting small business throughout Yonkers. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for having me. Oh, I think I'm muted. Am I muted again?
No, not at all. We
Okay.
hear you wonderfully well.
Thanks for having me. I'm sorry. I was at another function, so I stepped out. I'm happy to be here with you guys. Like you said, you gave a little bit of my spiel. And like Shatika said, thank you. We're all three beautiful women. Thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it. Strong Black woman. I have been in District 1 since I was 6 years old. So I'm a little bit older than Shatika. So I think I got here when she was 3. So I've been here a little while. I've been outside. I've played the sports. I've been in the parks. I've tumbled. I've had my fair share of fist fights and cafeteria food fights. I've attended several of Yonkers public schools. I have 2 young boys of my own, 8 and 12, who both attend Yonkers public schools. I love serving the community. I've worked for Councilwoman Williams for the last 6 years, and I do think she has done a great job. Shout out to you. And she's taught me a lot, and being behind the scenes has helped me to see things that I agree with, things I don't agree with, and has given me an up close and personal view on what's going on with the council. Do I agree with everything all the time? No, but nobody will. You can't please everyone. If I'm the person that's elected for council, everybody won't always agree with me either. We don't live in a perfect world. That's just how things go. But I believe I do care about the people. I love what I do. I love servitude. I've served on many boards. I've done tons of community service. I can walk into shelters right now and they know who I am and what we've done and what I stand for. So that means a lot to me. Just caring about people, loving on people, positivity, trying to push the city forward. Some people think Yonkers has a negative, a dark cloud, or there's this negativity to Yonkers. No city is perfect. I think our city is amazing. And I think there is room for improvement. There's always room to grow. And I'm here to help that progression.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Ms. Robinson?
Ms. Robinson, how can we have ownership of our schools to organize the children and teens into programs like arts and music and mechanics and blue collar programs?
I'm not quite sure how we can gain ownership. I do know there's a lot of things budget wise we can do that, a lot of us have been fighting for. Certain council members going up to lobby to Albany money that's owed us for years and years and years to implement, funding back to our city. We are a big city. When I graduated Lincoln High School, I had 4 full track scholarships. I don't see scouts coming back. I was a part of the choir. We had arts, we had everything. My son is going into 7th grade. He wants to play football. It's very hard for him to find a team we don't really have JV sports like that. We have intermediate sports, flag football. He wants to do tackle. There's no way our 7th graders shouldn't be prepared to play 9th grade sports. You can't play flag football and then get to high school and jump right into tackle and expect to be fully knowledgeable. It just doesn't work that way. So I would love for our kids to be afforded the opportunities that we've had in the past and more because they deserve it. So, fighting for the funding that we deserve is super important. All of the developments that are happening, actually holding these developers to contractual agreements with the IDA, being specific with the contracts and holding them to it. Really driving down on these penalties when they're not doing what they said they were going to do, asking them what they're really going to do for our community. How much money are you going to give us towards our schools, towards these programs? What in your building is going to be available to our community and for our community?
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank
those
you.
answers. Is there one more question for Ms. Robinson?
Yes, what are the most challenging issues in the office you are seeking?
The most challenging issues in the district, or actually being in the office?
In the office.
So when we deal with
Or
a
the
lot of
district. Or the district.
Okay. So challenging. There's a lot of homelessness in District 1. You can be homeless for many reasons. Any of us can be homeless. I'm 2 paychecks away from being homeless. If I miss 2 checks, I'm in trouble. So I look forward to operating in grace as I live daily. There's people struggling with public safety, scared, even in the downtown. I believe it's gotten a lot better, but there's still a lot of issues to tackle. What else? Dealing with people in the actual office is never easy, but it's always my pleasure. I love to help. I love to figure out solutions, and being on the front lines and just helping people out. That's what I believe being a good human is, treating humans like humans. And we need to get back to living that way and understanding we all put on our pants. We all bleed the same way. So looking out for our neighbor and really operating as a community is something that I look forward to sharing and pushing if allowed to be in the seat.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Robinson. You seem to have been an excellent assistant and helper, and we look forward to seeing you in this upcoming election.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for hearing me out. I believe that all of my information is in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. Like Shatika said, I'm very, very much accessible. So social media, email, call me, stop me in the street. I'm very hard to miss. So yes, I'm very much available if you have any questions.
Thank you once again for joining us.
No problem.
Miss Effie, we're so glad you're back, Miss Phillips. I think it's about yourself. If you can unmute and please give us a little bit more of